Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is where you are, and welcome back to another episode on the Annoyed Dad channel. In today's episode, you can see that, once again, we are in the orchard. Sorry. But what we're doing today is we are going to go around and we're going to collect up the last of our, well, not the last of the apples, but we're going to collect up quite a few of the remaining apples that are left, that are still sat on the tree. These are cookers. Look at the size of some of these things. I'll just grab that one out. Oh, like, I got pretty big hands myself, but look at the size of that thing. It's like a monstrous. I don't know, what's that, 4 inches? Something like that across that. But anyway, today we are going to collect up the apples. We might even collect up some of the pears. We're at the start of October now, so it's coming into autumn, and we are going to turn them into cider. Or, for our American viewers, hard cider, because that's better than just normal cider. Reason why I say that is because in the UK we call cider, and that is the adult alcoholic drink that is enjoyed by quite a few people. In America, as far as I understand it, and please turn around and tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong, cider is basically apple juice. And hard cider, looks like the turkeys have tried to climb up that one, and hard cider is the stuff with the alcohol in it. So what we're doing is we're doing hard cider from our own apples. So step one is we're going to go around and we're going to pick the apples, and what we're doing is we're looking for a mixture, and the mixture, the blend, will affect the taste. So as you just saw, I've just picked 2 apples there. So there we go. So I've got a cooking apple, which is huge, and a dessert apple. Now, if I was to buy that down in my local Tesco's, that would be called a large apple, this red one. So the mixture you have of the dessert and the cookers will then influence the taste of your cider. So because we're doing scrumpy cider, which is just basically farmyard cider, it's going to make it a bit of a different taste. So I'm going to crack on, I'm going to pick some apples, and I'll come back in a second and I'll explain what we're going to do next, once I've got a full wheelbarrow full of apples. Right, so here's our wheelbarrow with the apples in. I haven't gone all the way to the top because I know I've got some more apples just over the way that I picked the other day that we can add into it. So what we've got in here is we've got a mix. We've got stuff like Bramley apple, Mr. Kipling apple pie apples. We've got stuff like the Coxes, there's that one there, and we've got the other ones which I don't actually know what they are, but they're huge. So it is now raining. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to park this wheelbarrow up somewhere and I'm going to leave it for a week. It's exactly the same as when you pick your fruit at home or you buy it from the supermarket and it's not quite ripe, or it is ripe, but you leave it on the side for like a week and then it becomes even juicier, which is what we want. So let's jump in the time machine, let's get up to 88 miles per hour, and I will see you in 1 week's time. Okay, so after leaving the apples for a week, well, it's been nearly 2 weeks, they've all gone very soft. They're very hard when we pick them. You can see that I'm squeezing the juice out of that one. It's a bit like if you leave the fruit on the side at home, all gets a bit more juice. Oh, that one's got a bit of a bad bit in it. So yeah, there's a lot more juice in there to squeeze out. So what we're doing now is we've got these here, and these ones down here. These ones down here are being washed. They'll be washed in the water. So what happens is they'll be washed there. We've been through them all and we've pulled out the bad ones, or most of the bad ones. We might get the odd one or two. Those will end up going back to the chickens. So they get washed, they come up here, they'll be sliced up with this. From there, they'll go to a bucket. From the bucket, they'll go into the normal garden shredder. Reason for this is because we can't cut the apples small enough ourselves to go into the press, so as the press can get the maximum amount of juice out of them. We need to break them down within the shredder to be able to do that. Now these aren't really shredders, they're more squeezers. So if I get you in close, you might just be able to see that there's the turny thing just in the middle there, and that pushes everything over to the left hand side here, and it just basically squeezes it up against the wall, and then it drops out. So that'll do that. So they'll drop out into there, there'll be smaller pieces, and from there they'll go into the press, and we'll press them to get out the apple juice, which will then go into a demijohn, but not that demijohn, because that one isn't sterile. It will go into that one in there that is currently sat in there getting sterile. So yeah, we've got that. So I'm just going to whack it onto time lapse and we'll get through it and we'll do it. Okay, you can see I'm getting close to filling up the first jug already. Gonna have to jump in there and just swap those out. This is a clean demijohn. That's the one that was in the sterilising solution. Oh, got to change over again. Okay, that's about as far as I can press it at the minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it to press. Going to do my next bucket load of apples, and then I'll come back, take that off, put them in, and we'll go through them that way. But I'll also show you the other way of how I mush up the apples before they go into the press, because the shredder's given us issues. Okay, so the first press from that first bucket has given us about 2.5 litres worth of apple juice, which isn't bad going as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to fill that up above 5. If I show you it there you go. So it is all cloudy and that, but that's fine, that's natural. So then we'll undo this here. And that's what's left over. Basically, if you've ever bought dried apple from the supermarket or anything, that's what it really feels like. Very rubbery, but I could have squeezed that down a little bit more. Had I put more apples into that, I could have squeezed it down a bit more. I think with the next lot we'll put some more apples in, we'll squeeze it down a bit more. But this will now be fed straight back to the geese, so there's no problem with that. Alright, so you can buy a special machine which is called an apple scratter, which will break up all of the apples for you. But because the shredder's given us some issues today, I'm going to have to do it a different way. So the easiest way to do it is just to get a wooden fence post and literally just bang them. Okay, so now we've done all that, I've just been and I've cleaned everything down. If you're wondering, the sterilizer I used was VWP. This one here. I've got something on my lens. My lens dirty. Let's give it a clean and start that again. Right, okay, so that's that bit done. I've just cleaned everything down and we are left with 2 demijohns full up of apple juice. In case you're wondering, the sterilizer I used was VWP, available from most places or eBay, online and anywhere else like that. So I am told that if I just put an airlock into each one of these and just leave them, there is a chance that the natural yeast on the outside of the apple is going to start the fermentation process for us. I'm not a chancer though, so I've got some Young's super wine yeast, and it says put in 1 heaped teaspoon per gallon. So these hold a UK gallon each, so I'm just going to put in a heaped teaspoon into each one, and I'm going to use the funnel because I always find that if you put them in, if you just try to pour it in, you end up with all of the grains of it stuck around the lid of it. So because it said a heaped teaspoon, that was pretty much a flat one, so I just do a half bit. There we go. So yeah, you end up with all the bits of yeast stuck in here, and I don't want that. I want it all to get in there to turn all of the sugars within there to alcohol. So there we go. That's actually quite expensive, that lot. I haven't done an awful lot with that. I've done 2 ciders and 1 mead. Well, 4 ciders now and 1 mead, and there's not an awful lot in there. So if anyone's got any other ideas of other yeast to use, please do leave it down in the description below. So next up, back over there, we need an airlock. And what the airlock does is it will stop oxygen getting in there, because obviously if, it's the apples reacting with the oxygen that makes them go this brown colour, and the yeast is going to start a reaction within there, and that's going to let off, I believe it's carbon dioxide, check the comments down below. That's going to let off a gas which is going to force out all of the oxygen, and we don't want the oxygen getting back in, so you use an airlock. So there is water in this bottom bit here, so the air can come up and out and go bloop as it forces its way out, but oxygen can't get back in. So within a few hours or so, there won't be any oxygen, or very, very little oxygen left within there. And this is exactly the same thing, just a slightly different design, and you can see that the air would come up around the top, through that bit and out. So they're both doing exactly the same thing, just slightly different designs. And there we go, that is it. I am going to leave it now. Let's give it a little bit of a stir, just to make sure that the yeast there has gone in, and it has. So that is it now, just leave them, let them be, and they will start to bubble away. Hopefully I'm going to end this video with some of the bloop bloop bloops going on. That'll be for the last 20 seconds or so of the video, when it pops up and it says subscribe by clicking just here, or watch this video or that video. So yeah, that's going to be that, and we'll just leave it and we'll cut back in. Like I say, this is my first year of making cider. You can see I've got one at the back there, which I did on the 1st of September. Today's October the something or other, and that has already cleared up. That's getting ready for bottling just about, and I've got a mead at the background. So if you've got any comments for me, any ideas, any suggestions, please do leave them down below.